KAP International used to hold a small portfolio of diverse industrial businesses, but recently acquired two major companies from Steinhoff, PG Bison and Unitrans. The resulting group has a market cap of 7 billion rand. It has a price to earnings ratio of 9, and in the past it had a dividend yield of 3.3%. So KAP International are buying those two businesses from Steinhoff. A good buy, would you say?
Well, it's an interesting little group. It's the remnants of the old Colossus group, which was a failed listing back in the sort of late 90s. Then Klaus Dahn, who's a German entrepreneur who for some reason likes to hang out in South Africa, started acquiring bits and pieces of clapped out industrial businesses and putting them into KAP. But it never really attracted any attention. In fact, any attention it ever got was when people laughed about the portfolio, because it was everything from the company that owned a shoe wear manufacturer, Glodina Towels, and then the people who made bully beef, which was an interesting combination. But anyway, Klaus Dahn was also involved with Steinhoff. And as a result of Steinhoff's global aspirations, they decided to take their South African businesses that were not in the furniture trade, which was Unitrans, which is a sizable logistics company and motor retail distributor, and then also PG Bison, which manufactures wood products, including furniture, obviously, and shove it in there. And then they did this amazing thing where they switched shares between JD Group and KAP, so that KAP basically ended up being 52% held by Steinhoff. So really this thing is now part of Steinhoff's world. And when you said earlier that their dividend yield is sort of unclear, that's because that was the old entity. The new entity, those new businesses have only been in there, I think, since March or something. So we'll only see now in September for the first time what the real earnings power has been, and we can see whether 3 Rand a share is a good price or not for those assets.
3 Rand a share, good price for those assets?
So like Paul was saying, it's a bit of a mishmash of businesses, which is always difficult to see which is always difficult to value if there are no direct synergies, unless you're going to start offering bull brand discount beef with high quality linen deals. So I'm not quite sure how that would work. But they did get Unitrans from Steinhoff in return for KAP shares. Now, Unitrans as a logistics business is actually an excellent business. They've got high margins, they've got high concentrations in those speciality value add distribution businesses, like for example the chemical space. They're very well integrated in the sugar space. They are an integral part of the sugar producers' whole chain of production. So from that point of view, the Unitrans supply chain business is an excellent business. Because it's only been part of the group for so recent, and you've got all these other businesses, like I said, everything's been sort of mush-mashed together. Even though Unitrans will probably come out contributing about half the operating profit, I would adopt a hold off and see approach to this one.
So it's a wait and see approach on KAP International. Would you say it's hot or not, Paul?
Well, it's interesting because the old CEO, Paul Sharton, has sort of stepped down and become the general manager, and then Joe Grovier, who's the long-time CEO of Unitrans, has taken over as CEO of the combined group. Then remember also old Marcus Jooste from Steinhoff is the kind of global CEO who visits one operation per day to check their numbers and to ask a few pointed questions and walk around the yard and see if everybody's been picking up the rubbish and so on. So I think they're going to do well here. I don't know though, I'm quite tempted because 7 billion Rand is quite a material market cap. Nobody knows anything about what the numbers are going to look like. Nobody can work out what the new ratios are going to be. It could just be a gem which is undiscovered. So I'm quite tempted to say, well, buy a few just in order to see whether the earnings base isn't substantially higher. Because even when they did the sort of financial effects of the transactions and so on, it was very murky. You couldn't understand what was going on. So it could just be it's got relatively low turnover. So it could just be that there's more earnings upside here. The flip side, of course, is you could discover that there's a bit more earnings downside as well.
So you're both taking a wait and see approach in KAP International, hot or not?
I'd say for me not.
So not hot on KAP International?
Yeah, I'd say regrettably not hot because there aren't usually anything like a free lunch in the market.